What's going on, guys? Welcome to week 5 of the Playbook with Joey and Zach. I hope it's been a good week for everyone, and I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. You're now listening to WZBC AM Sports Radio, and we're excited to bring you another week of Boston sports over the next hour.
So tonight to start, we're going to talk about the shifts in the college football landscape, most notably Lincoln Riley on his move to USC and Brian Kelly's move to LSU. After that, we'll recap BC football's tough loss at Wake Forest and talk about Hafley's extension through 2026 and what it means to the program. Then we'll talk about the recent happenings in the MLB and the potential lockout, which could be happening very soon, maybe even early as midnight. And to finish up, we will discuss Fenway Sports Group's purchase of the Pittsburgh Penguins, which just happened over a week ago now. And if we have time, we would love to take call-ins at 617-596-3150, 617-596-3150. So give me a text there and let me know, and then hopefully at the end we'll have some time.
Yeah, let's get it. So let's get right into it. A couple of days ago, big news changed the entire college football landscape. Lincoln Riley accepted a deal to become the next head coach of USC. Pretty crazy because I thought he had a good thing going on with Oklahoma. One of the biggest recruiting powerhouses in the country, and then all of a sudden he's moving to USC, a team that's been great in the past, but they've kind of really been slow the last few years. They've had a tough year this year, especially. They're never where they're supposed to be, and I think he is kind of the right hire for them, and he can bring them to the next level. Already bringing in a lot of his top recruits from Oklahoma that are flipping over. So I know USC fans are definitely excited about bringing him on.
Yeah, I saw that his contract was nuts. Whatever they gave him, they gave him
Wild.
110
He has
million.
so many perks. Private jet.
Private jet.
Wants.
Yeah, I guess it's not a bad.
They bought him a
private jet
house
on
in
its own.
LA for like $6 million.
Yep, yeah, he got it all, and he's going to a big program too. So it's not like it's not a bad consolation going to USC. That's great. Obviously, it hasn't been as great the past 10 years as Oklahoma's been. The last 5 years, probably 10 years ago, USC was still pretty good. They've obviously struggled over the last 5 years, but either way, he's going to a big school. Nice weather too. He's got it all now.
Doesn't
He's in
get
the
much
West
better.
Coast,
Yeah,
too,
big time program, big time recruiting still.
I'm sure he's psyched.
Already bringing on a couple 5-star guys with him over there.
Absolutely, he's bringing in some of his coaching, some of his staff with him to USC. So I'm sure they'll be good. I give them a year
Hopefully
or two.
they can hang in some playoff games now.
Yeah,
you never know.
I mean, he's a great coach. He can take whoever, kind of like Brian Kelly, where they can take whoever they have and find a way to win games. So I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I do think it'll take a year though for them to be really good. I think next year they'll be all right. They'll be good. They'll definitely be better than what they've been. And then 2 years from now, once he has a full year and a half of recruiting and strategizing, I think he can be great. I think in the Pac-12 too. I mean, it's not as
that conference is wide open.
Yeah, I
right
was gonna say
now.
it's not as competitive of a conference. So I'm sure he'll be able to do big things there, and we'll see how it goes. I think Brian Kelly's move, I wasn't as big of a fan of.
I didn't like that. I thought he had a better situation than Notre Dame personally.
Yeah, me too.
He's been building this thing for the last 10 years, and then all of a sudden he jumps ship to LSU, which, is already losing a ton of guys in the transfer portal after the departure of Coach O. Even for LSU, too, I don't really like that move because, I thought Coach O was solid. He wasn't, he won a championship with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he had a lot of talent there.
But, he's still an all right coach, and I don't think Brian Kelly, he's not that guy for me. He struggled in the college football playoff, and he struggled in a lot of big games. With Notre Dame. He's still building something special, but it just seems like, why would you go that hard at Notre Dame to build that kind of program and then jump ship to LSU, who's really not in much of a better situation right now?
Yeah, I don't like the way he went about it. I think that's what I don't like more. The way he didn't tell the team and then calls a 7 a.m. meeting and he talks for 4 minutes, doesn't take questions, doesn't say bye to players, just leaves, acts like he just closed the door.
I like that too, the fact that the players found out through social media.
Yeah, he just closed the door and acted like he was just tying his shoelace, rather than it being something that's obviously monumental and historic. It was crazy, the way he went about it. I figured, a guy that's a head coach of a school so prestigious and as great as Notre Dame, he'd go about it in a better way and maybe be a little bit more respectful and professional towards the players. But it seemed like he just didn't care at all and just left.
No, yeah, he just, so much for all those relationships with the players that you claim to have and, how much you love the school and everything. And you just, within 12 hours, you go from hearing breaking news on Twitter and then 12 hours later, he's giving you a 5-minute speech on, like why he loves the team and commitment and all that. Which really, in the end, just sounds fake.
Yeah,
to be honest, if you preach all of that and then
that was all about money. I'm sure he's getting more money where he is.
He's getting a lot of money. It's 10 years, $95 million.
Is that what it is? Well, it's a lot. Yeah, I was so focused on the Lincoln Riley contract that I haven't checked into the Brian Kelly one. But I think I like Lincoln Riley's move. He's obviously going to a team that's not been as good as it should have been. He's with Brian Kelly going to LSU, they've been good. Obviously, like you said, they've won a national championship, so it's not like he's going to a program that's been really struggling. Obviously, they didn't have as good of a year the last couple of years without Joe Burrow, but they're still a good team. Still great players. And USC though, they came to BC in what year was it?
2014.
2014, yeah. And then BC
Came in
beat them.
ranked.
Tyler Murphy had a big touchdown run for the win. At least it was the winning run. John Hillman had a touchdown. My boy had a big run.
Oh yeah, let's go.
It was historic days. Then that's when they were still really good. And then obviously now they've been on the downtrend. But we'll see how
they
they
still
go.
got the talent, all the potential. Still a big time program. Yeah, so
Absolutely, a great school too. So you can just recruit people just for the education there.
Might be a couple of issues already though today. These are just rumors, purely by the way. But a 5-star cornerback, Damani Jackson, I think his name is. Apparently, there's rumors that the defensive backs coach from Oklahoma that was recruiting him was recruiting him to USC months ago at the time.
Well,
and USC is in his top 2 already with Bama. So
that's
a little bit of sketchy business if that's true. So
did not hear about that. That's interesting though.
A little bit of scandal already to start the Lincoln Riley career.
Must have been under the table where they were going to say like finish the regular season. We don't want jumping ship in the regular season because they'll think it was tampering or something. Wait till the end of the regular season, which I don't like the way college football goes about that. I think everything should happen at the end of the season after bowl games.
Yeah, I don't like that too. That guys like Brian Kelly are just totally leaving their team for the bowl game. Lincoln Riley too.
I'm not a big fan of that, and I know everyone does that. So that's what happens every single year.
It's just kind of odd too, because then the head coach goes to their new team, and like their new team still has one game left of the old season to play, and there's no time to install your new scheme or anything. So there's nothing for the head coach to even do at the new school.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. I think honestly something should change with that. Maybe they should make a rule where if you're gonna be jumping ship, you got to at least finish the season out. Because in other sports, it doesn't really happen. No coaches really jump from one team to another ever. Really, they get fired as a head coach and they go be the offensive coordinator of another team and stuff. But
it's all after the season.
Yeah, exactly. It's not.
You're not doing it in the middle of week 15,
exactly.
16.
Jason Garrett got fired and he's not going to get a job until maybe next season. He probably shouldn't get a job. But he'll probably get a job after this season's over. Yeah, probably. Tough season with him and the Giants. He really took Daniel Jones, on a downwards path. It's not Daniel Jones' fault, but either way, it's besides the point. Point is, though, that a lot of teams, they have guys and you're recruiting, new coaches and stuff during the season in college, but I just don't see that as it's really just college football. That is no other college sports do that. I
think that's it. Just for those few weeks of recruiting leading up to National Signing Day.
I don't like
National
that though.
Intent Signing Day.
But I guess I see why they do it.
But
I see why they do it.
Purely for recruiting.
It's recruiting because now you get whenever the National Signing Day is, they get a couple weeks and stuff to prepare and try to get guys to obviously go to their school and everything. But still, I'm not a big fan of the way they go about it.
Now it's going to be weird. Now Oklahoma's kind of falling apart. Everyone's entering the transfer portal. There's nothing left of that team.
A lot of 5-star recruits are decommitting too. So
a lot of guys go to USC.
A lot of mismatching now. And I'm sure they'll still be good. Who comes in as head coach? I mean Notre Dame too.
They still got
Notre Dame picks their schedule, so they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah,
That's another.
They got the ACC schedule with the easy version.
Brian Kelly, not Chip Kelly, but Brian Kelly's missing out on the being able to pick games now. Now he can't pick games. Now he's in a bigger conference.
Yeah, now he's
going
to have to go through Bama, Florida, Georgia.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. I think he's a good coach.
That, I think he's all right. I don't think he's. I wouldn't put him as a top 5 coach in college football, though. No way.
No, probably not.
For me. I think I'd rather have Jeff Hafley than Brian Kelly.
I'd probably go with Brian Kelly. But it's not that I don't like Hafley, but Brian Kelly has, even though they don't win those big games, they do make it to the national championship and stuff. So that's why I give him the edge. But
he's got that brand, though. If Hafley had a Notre Dame brand, I think it would be a different story.
Yeah, Hafley, we got to win some games in the ACC before we can be talking about Brian Kelly.
Give us a healthy season.
At least Brian Kelly wins the ACC games. He does win the ACC games.
He's got a team of 5-star guys. We're still playing with Steve Adazio's guys out there.
Not all of them. Not all of the Adazio guys. A lot of the seniors and stuff, but one of the young guys, obviously half the guys. But I do think I don't like really the move, Brian Kelly's move, but I am a fan of the Lincoln Riley one. I do think it'll take some time to see how those things work out, obviously, but I think 2 years down the line, I think USC will be good.
All right, yeah, that's fair. Now Notre Dame, Oklahoma have huge openings for jobs. A lot of names swirling around as potential candidates for both jobs. I think my 2 picks for both schools would be Luke Fickell, the Cincinnati head coach. I think he should go to Notre Dame. Obviously, turn that program into something great. They're one of the most competitive teams in the country right now, Cincinnati. Very tough, very physical, and I think he'd really fit Notre Dame well. He's a guy that kind of preaches building relationships and, a team-first guy, too. So I think he'd fit right in at a school like Notre Dame. And then for Oklahoma, Brent Venables, the Clemson defensive
Yeah, he's
coordinator,
great.
he's been great. Played two SEC teams this year, didn't give up a touchdown. He's always had great defenses. He's a great recruiter. So I think he'd fit right in at Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Then in regards to Notre Dame, I do think to take into consideration, I think both those guys probably be at least talked to, I'd imagine. But I think I was reading yesterday about Notre Dame's defensive coordinator. I got something up about him right now, Marcus Freeman. That a lot of players like him, and they've been talking to the Notre Dame program and want them to elevate him. So we'll see how that goes. I do know, as you said, Cincinnati's coach, he probably will have the edge just because he's a head coach and Freeman's only been a defense coordinator. But I do think, though, if they were to stay in house, I don't think it'd be a bad thing since he's already been there. He obviously knows what the system's like. He knows, all the players. Probably can
He's
at
a
least
good
keep
recruiter,
some.
too.
Exactly. Probably keep some from transferring out. So I think Freeman would be a solid option. Notre Dame right now is 11th in scoring defense at 18.3 points a game, which is great.
Okay.
And then also, he's a former Ohio State player, so
not a tough schedule though.
Yes, not a tough schedule, but he's played in college football. He knows the system of Notre Dame. I think it'd be a solid option to stay where he is, especially if all the players like him too. So
yeah, he's a good candidate for sure.
But as you were saying, you never know. Honestly, it's going to be whoever gets the most money. Whatever. Those coaches, they can have the option between Notre Dame and every school in the country.
You want. Yeah,
but they're going to go where the money is.
Right now, you can probably go to any school you want.
Definitely.
Besides the top 8-10 schools, you can probably go anywhere.
If I was him, I'd want to stay though at Cincinnati just because he built a great program. I think staying.
Yeah, he hasn't really had that chance to get into the playoff.
Exactly.
He's been close a couple times, and then
everyone go to
as
a big
long as they
program.
win this next week, they should be there.
Everyone can go to a big program and succeed with all these 5-star recruits at Notre Dame and LSU and USC and all that. But at the same time, no one can take a smaller school like he has at Cincinnati. I'm not a fan of Cincinnati. I don't like Cincinnati.
I don't like him either. But if
they
go 12-0,
I do think though they're going to get.
They beat Notre Dame.
I think they'll get smoked though in the college football playoffs.
I think Georgia would wipe the floor with them, but still,
Yeah.
I don't think you could justify, since Bama's not winning the SEC championship, I don't think you could justify putting in Bama over Cincinnati.
I think Bama could beat Georgia, actually, though. I do think...
I think they could, too.
I think they can.
Beat Georgia,
I think it'd be a close game. I do think Georgia's the better team, but I do think, an off day, one or two guys have a bad game, a fumble recovery, something. Georgia...
Yeah, I'll take a couple
plays.
Alabama
could stay in the game. Obviously, it'd be a close
game.
Yeah,
Ben saying I still think Alabama is the second
game.
most powerful team in the country besides Georgia right now.
That's why the SEC is so good.
Michigan's solid too, but I think if it's a Georgia-Michigan championship, I don't think Michigan's going to take down Georgia.
Absolutely. Good luck to Brian Kelly out there. It's going to be a tough
conference.
Schedule, tough go of it. Missouri's the worst team in that conference, so he's going to be competing with them for the bottom probably for the first couple of years at least.
We had a close game with Missouri, and Notre Dame's had a couple close games with us the last 2 years. So
I guess he's fitting in there.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. But anyway, so Jeff Hafley also just got extended through 2026, which was a great deal for BC.
Yeah, I'm very happy about the move. Obviously, a great recruiter, a great person. Just has the team competing with a lot of these higher ranked teams. BC right now is the 24th best class nationally, according to Rivals. That's been really good to see. The best class since 2004 we're on track to have right now. He's on the move right now, actually out in Florida. Hanging out with one of the linebacker recruits for next year, super underrated prospect, and him, Tem Lukabu, and a couple of the other defensive staff are out there right now, actually on a recruiting trip. But obviously a great guy, great recruiter, and I think he's really been turning the program up. And even though he's only been 12-11 in his 2 years at BC,
yeah, it's tough. Couple tough games. Can't even speak. Couple tough games he should have won.
Tough games, but we hung with Clemson 2 years in a row. The Notre Dame last year wasn't bad. Just a whole new energy to the program almost that I think he brings that no other coach that we could get is going to bring. So, it's great that he's staying and he's really buying into the program now. He kind of affirmed his promises that he wanted to stay here and build something special.
Yeah, I do like the signing. I think the amount of years, though, I felt like he was going to do maybe 3 or 4 just because I felt like he'd want to leave at some point. But I guess he wants to stay. Deals can fall apart whenever. If he ever wanted to leave and, there's a better offer or whatever, they could always terminate contracts and all. Because I figured he was going to do a 2 or 3 year deal and then go somewhere else.
But, I would have done a 3 year deal.
2026, maybe more guaranteed money, probably went with that, which would make more sense, obviously, since he's, hasn't really cashed in yet, like, Brian Kelly and all of them have. So I think it's a good deal for BC. Obviously, it gives some closure, and, you'll have some recruits that, want to stay at BC now. I know if he ended up leaving, to go somewhere else, a lot of the recruits he signed probably would leave just like LSU's and USC's and Oklahoma's. I'm sure Cincinnati's too.
Probably everyone. Yeah,
left.
He's pretty much everything we got right now going for us.
So see how that goes. But BC's been struggling though. Tough loss to Wake Forest,
Last
41-10.
Yeah, we looked awful.
I think the biggest headline was the poor performance from Phil Dracovic. 3 of 11 for 19 yards, a touchdown, which honestly I'm thankful we even scored a touchdown. 2 interceptions and a fumble to go along with 66 rushing yards, but 2 interceptions and a fumble. I mean, the 3 completions he had, I guess, were gifts because 3 of 11 is an awful stat line. Tough game.
I'm not a big fan of play calling, though, either. Every shot we've been taking is deep. We don't really...
I don't know. He missed a lot of guys, though. There were a lot of throws, though.
He did have a poor game, I will say.
It wasn't even... He had time to throw, too, so I wouldn't even say it was timing. I just think the wrist is still an issue. I do think he's a really good player, but I think the wrist is still bothering him.
He definitely is still... Yeah, he's still a little bothered by the injury, for sure.
3 of 11, though.
But some of it does come with the play calling, too, because especially if he's not throwing well and then, the deep ball's not really working out against a strong secondary like Wake Forest, you got to start to find other creative options. We had that one, I think it was a dump off to Zay Flowers where he went 80 yards or something and it was called back. We got to start doing more plays like that. Just get, Zay or Jalen Gill the ball over the middle and just kind of let them work.
Yeah.
They're 2 of the most explosive guys in the ACC, and we haven't really given them many opportunities to make plays like that this season.
I think Phil's the reason, actually. I do. For the not getting the ball. I mean, there were a lot of throws, though. Gill had a couple wide open routes where he ended up throwing over the middle to whoever it was, Barry or whatever. There was one play where Gill was wide open on the sidelines for first down, and rather than going for the first down, I think it was like 3rd and 10 or whatever, he's trying to throw over the middle for a 5-yard pass. Like that was going to do anything. But, it's obviously at the same time, it's not always, you got to go through progression. It's not always the first guy you look at. But at the end of the day, though, we only had 9 first downs. That's a big issue. And,
there was just 25. No offense at all.
9 first downs, which was brutal.
A lot of teams with the flu, though, too. I think that's a major factor why we looked so sluggish out there. Because we just kind of looked like we had no energy, and really we didn't. 15 some odd guys had the flu. A lot of guys were out.
Yeah. I mean, he struggled against Florida State, too. So I'm going to blame the wrist more than anything else, which I would hope it's the wrist, because if this is him healthy, which I do think they rushed him back, you can't go from a season-ending injury to all of a sudden on Friday night, I'm playing tonight. You know what I mean? I think they rushed him back.
I mean, he looks great, though. 2 weeks ago against Georgia Tech, he had 5 total touchdowns.
I don't know what happened that game.
Player of the week, he was...
I don't know what happened,
I thought he was back for sure.
It's 3 games.
At some point, he was ready to go.
3 of the 4 games he's been back. 112 passing yards, 310 versus Georgia Tech, but 148 and then 19. Factor in all the turnovers, too. I mean, 3 over the last 2 games, 3 interceptions. I don't even know if he had a fumble against Florida State, but I know he had a fumble against Wake Forest.
I don't think there was any fumble against
turnovers have been tough, though. 3 turnovers, 1 touchdown. The touchdown we had, I'll take since it was early in the game. It was still a game when we scored a touchdown. But I'm very critical of him. I do think he's still hurt, though, so I don't think it's just his fault. But there are a lot of guys wide open, and you're bouncing the ball in front of guys' feet. A couple of his interceptions over the past 2 weeks. 2 out of the 3 were just awful throws, which I understand sometimes it's not always you, and sometimes decision-making or the play, or you think a guy's open and he isn't. It's not always on you as the quarterback. But at the same time, though,
I think the play calling does need to change offensively next year. I'm not saying that he didn't have a bad game. He did, but there was a lot of times where you got guys open, or things are just weird. There's no consistency to the way we play. If the deep ball's not working, we keep trying it. There's just not a whole lot of diversity in a lot of the plays we call.
Yeah,
so I think that should be priority 1 moving forward. With because we have some of the most talented offensive guys in the ACC.
Yeah.
So we should be putting a lot more points up than 10 against Wake Forest, a team that gave up like 56 to Army just about a month ago now. So
it's tough. I think honestly though, I think he's still hurt. He ran 28 times over the last 2 games, compared to the first game of the year. He ran 5 times. The second game of the year, obviously, he left in the second quarter, didn't run at all. And then against Virginia Tech, he ran 9 times, 8 times versus Georgia Tech. But he's run 28 times over the last 2 games, which is clear that he's hurt because he can't make the throws. He's coming up short on every pass.
He looked good, though. He lost a lot of weight when he was injured and then came back, and he's definitely gained a step faster. A lot of those touchdown runs he's had the last few games, he's looked like one of the most mobile QBs in the ACC.
Yeah, I don't like him running, though, that much. He got popped 2 or 3 times against Florida State.
He's been getting hit a lot.
Wake Forest, he got hit in the head once or twice.
We've had poor O-line play the last few weeks.
I think it's time to throw, though. I think it's when he runs, I think, protection breaks down. But he's had time to throw on a lot of those passes. Of the 11 he threw last game, he probably had time to throw on 7 or 8 of them. Probably good time. And he likes to hold the ball a lot, which I know a lot of quarterbacks at college do. In the NFL, though, you hold it for an extra second, fumbles are going to happen very easily. They're just going to hit you, you're going to fumble. But in college, you can hold the ball for an extra second, unlike the NFL. But I am critical of Phil. I do think he's been part of the reason we've been struggling. I would blame the wrist injury probably more than anything. But at the same time, though, which I know every BC fan wouldn't want to hear this, but if Grossel's healthy, I want at least who is healthy out there. I don't want a 40% of Jacoby if I can at least have 100% of a guy that's healthy. I'm not saying Grossel's a better player.
Over Emmett Moorhead?
Okay, or him, yeah, either way. I was just saying Grossell because he started a lot of games this year, so I was thinking they'd probably go with Grossell. But
just for energy purposes, I don't think I could ever go back to Grossell just because, I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a great leader and a great solid player, but
either way, I
favor
Grossell just because he plays more games.
You see guys like Zay Flowers like shaking their head if he gets missed for the fourth time in a game. It's just, it is hard to watch.
I think Moorhead would be.
So if I had to choose one player to fill, I'd choose Moorhead, but I still don't think.
Not at this stage in the season.
I still don't think we have another QB that's ready enough to play over Phil, to be honest. I don't think.
Him hurt,
even though both of them might have better stats than Phil, I just think
value.
Phil's running value adds more than any of our backups right now. Not that we have bad backups, but I think.
I don't know.
We've already been struggling in offense to begin with Grossell and Moorhead out there, and I mean Phil hasn't been much better, but at least our offense is a little bit more dynamic with him out in the field.
Yeah, I mean, Moorhead wouldn't be a bad option. I just said Grossell because he started more games at this stage of the season. If, let's say, Phil couldn't go for some reason to the bowl game, I don't think you'd throw Moorhead in there after playing
if it was a bowl game.
So that's why I said Grossell.
Grossell.
But I actually would have put Grossell in over him, at least at halftime after the last game. We scored no points in the second half. We scored 10 in the first half, none in the second half. And
first half wasn't bad, though. 24-10 wasn't, the game wasn't over.
If you look at us moving the ball, though, it felt like it was 4 touchdowns. It was 14 points, but it felt like
that's
it
just the way we worked the last few weeks.
Game.
Though tough first half against Georgia Tech,
I think
awful first half at Florida State.
I think Phil's the reason.
But at least Georgia Tech and Florida
State.
Georgia Tech, Florida State. Second half we looked incredible.
We got a gift touchdown at the end of that game. Yeah.
Gave up a touchdown, to go down 26-3 at the beginning of that third quarter, and then all of a sudden it was all downhill. We came back, scored a couple of touchdowns, made it 26-23 at one point, and then. I mean, top end, we couldn't really score again. We came down to the 35 and then go for it on 4th and 10, which I thought was a questionable call to begin with. I think our freshman kicker, Connor Litton, I think he's been great. I thought it would have been a better choice to, give him that shot at a 52-yarder or whatever it would have been. Kind of let him go and try to make that field goal rather than go for it on 4th and 10 when, our drive had kind of stiffened and we didn't really have anywhere else to go. The rushing game broke down. We couldn't really find guys in the passing game either at that point in that drive. So I think we should have just tried to tie it and go for 3. But regardless, second half the last few weeks we looked good. I mean, the Wake Forest game was different. But we've had a slow start in every game the last few weeks, and every week we came back. So
yeah,
I don't think it's unreasonable to think that we were going to win that halftime last week.
I think Florida State, we got that touchdown with Zay just being wide open. I think we were kind of lucky on that one because if you look at his stat lines, he was 10-24. He was struggling heavily, Djokovic. I think that touchdown to Zay, though, because all day, though, Florida State was actually playing solid defense. It wasn't really too much room. There were guys open, but, no one wide open over the top, like, Grossell missing Zay a lot of the season. There was no one like that where there's 40 yards of space. But on that Florida State touchdown, there was a good amount of space to Zay on that play. At least 5 yards of separation.
Yeah, he made a nice double move in there.
A lot of separation there. So I think that touchdown was kind of, I wouldn't say lucky, but the way they were playing all day, Florida State didn't have any really blown coverage except that one play. So, I am critical of the offense now. I was used to be critical of the defense, but
no, defense has been good all year. I've always been supportive of the defense. The rushing game though looked solid, I thought.
Yeah.
Last week against Wake, Pat Garrow rushing for 65 yards on 11 carries. Alex Stinkfield 39 yards on 5 carries. Djokovic burst off with a 28-yard run and had 66 rushing yards overall. I definitely say the O-line looked a lot better in terms of the rush game.
Absolutely.
Last week versus how it did against Florida State. They just kind of got mismatched physically against Florida State. It felt like they were just getting dominated. Phil was getting drilled. The rushing game was going nowhere against Florida State. I was glad to see him kind of bounce back for a game, especially now as we're starting to get ready for a bowl game. Going against maybe a team like UCF or something. I think it's
UCF Houston. I saw at Fenway actually. That'd be a great bowl. I love that. 11 a.m. early start, but it'd still be pretty cool. But
yeah, there'd be a lot of BC fans for sure.
We'll see how things go. Obviously, now we still have one more game, and we'll have time to prepare at least 2 or 3 weeks, probably 3 weeks at least. I'd say maybe a whole month. So we'll see how things go. Obviously, I think BC will obviously have some question marks with the offense having to move the ball. That'll have to be a lot better, obviously, if you want to win a game, especially against a team like Houston or UCF.
Yeah, the ball movement's got to improve. Play calling's got to improve.
Absolutely.
Execution, too. A lot of guys entering the transfer portal from BC right now.
Yeah.
With a lot of the senior guys on the team who haven't played as much this season, maybe as they would hope. Guy like Kobe White, I think this is his second or third year in the transfer portal in a row.
My boy.
Jamin Muse, he's been good. He was a starter for us in 2020, but kind of got lost in the depth chart. Yeah, he got hurt a little bit. And Deion Jones as well, who got injured and kind of fell in the depth chart behind Maitrey, Mike Palmer, and Jaden Woodby. So, tough to see those guys enter the transfer portal, guys that have kind of been a big part of the team over the last couple of years. Leaders in the locker room for sure, from what everyone says. So I think the school's really going to miss those guys.
Absolutely. I think Kobe, I've always been a big fan of him. Hopefully, he goes somewhere he can actually play. Especially, I think if he went to a smaller school, I think he'd be probably the best player on the team. He's got a lot of reps. That's what I'm hoping. Central Michigan, Kent State, get him one of my MAC schools. I'll be watching him on Tuesday nights. He'll go off. And I think, honestly, it'd be very good for him to get himself back on track. If he could stay healthy, especially if he's at a smaller school, he'd be the primary wideout.
He's a good receiver. He was our wideout 1-2 years ago. So
2018, 2019 was great. Central Michigan, they're going to be losing some guys. Khalil Pimpleton will be going to the NFL and stuff. So I think, if he stepped into a program like that, I think he'd be the best offensive. If Lou Nichols is there, the running back, he's like one of the best in the country. He'll probably be the best player on the team. But I do think Kobe could be the second best option on that team. Definitely the best wideout. I favor Central Michigan, so that's why I say that. But anyways,
I wonder if
I think he'll go to a
Kobe or
school.
Jamin Muse. I could go to Colorado State too. I think that's a viable option. You see a lot of former BC guys transferring to Colorado State,
with Daz,
reuniting with Daz. Yeah,
the goat.
Get him out there. Bring back the the guys being dudes era back to Colorado State. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. Aaron Boumeri too. He entered the transfer portal today. Connor Litton obviously took his position, midway through the season and lost his job. So he'll probably end up going to all these guys though. Kobe, Boumeri, they've all got to be entering their 6th year. So they're all heavy grad transfers. Heavy grad transfers. Yeah,
crazy.
Kobe's been here the whole time. I've been.
Yeah, I think Kobe's been here since 2016.
Yeah, he's a beast. I love Kobe. I'm a big fan of him. I'm rooting for him. I'd love him back at BC, obviously, but it just seems like maybe a change of scenery might actually help him, get him more options, get him the ball more. I'd love to see him go to a school and succeed. I'm a big fan of him, and I honestly think though, his speed, his hands, his leadership, obviously with what he's done in the locker room, I do think he could be a valuable piece to definitely. I think even a big school. I think a smaller school so we can get reps too at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. I'd love to say that for him. Speaking of the transfer portal too, I wonder what BC is going to do on the incoming end. In Halfley's first couple years here, he's made a couple splashes. 2 years ago, bringing in Dracovic and Jalen Gill, which are 2 huge pieces for us. Then last year, he brought in guys like IGM and Jaden Woodby, 2 great pieces on defense. You got to wonder what positions he's going to look to fill this year. Kind of what direction he wants to go in the transfer portal. Because I know he's not a huge fan of getting big guys out of the transfer portal. Just a couple guys every year that are, culture fits for the team first and foremost. Then, guys that'll directly fill a need.
Yeah.
For the team. So I think 2 of the biggest positions of need are going to be O-line. You got guys like Zion Johnson, Alec Lindstrom going to the NFL draft most likely. Then, we're losing a couple guys to graduation in the front 7 too, like Marcus Valdez and IGM, who is our leading tackler this year. Who's going to fill those shoes? I think Bryce Steele, he's a great young linebacker, and he's going to be a starting piece of this team going forward. Cam Ronald as well. On the defensive line, though, we do need a little bit of help. We're on the bottom of the ACC in sacks this year.
Yeah, I've been very critical of that.
We haven't really been getting to the quarterback and forcing pressure, and we've kind of gotten dominated by mobile quarterbacks.
Malik Cunningham, 7 touchdowns against Duke 2 Thursdays ago.
Big game against us.
Big fan.
So I think that's the key. If there is any position that we could get, it would be O-line or a D-line. I think those are 2 huge positions of need. Coming off having a pretty good O-line, I don't know about calling them one of the best O-lines in the country, but I think they still played well overall this year. For sure. You got guys like Zion Johnson, who's should be an All-American guard. He's got huge shoes to fill on that team. We've seen a little bit of the backup O-line. Guys like Ozzie Trapillo, he stepped in solid in the absence of Tyler Vrabel. Jack Conley came in one game, had a bit of a tough game, but it's just that was the only sample we got out of him. So you never know what's going to happen with him in the future. He could be a solid piece moving forward. But I think at the end of the day, we are going to need to look in the transfer portal because there's just too many holes with guys graduating and going to the NFL on both sides of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and Mike Palmer, too. He'll be graduating. Grant Carlson. I think these positions are needed all around the field. So we'll see what BC does there. Jameer Gibbs is in the transfer portal. I'd love to get him. But
bring him to
he's
BC.
Bama.
Yeah, I think he's gone to Bama.
He's going to go. Maybe USC. Who knows? They'll probably get
You never
recruited
know.
everywhere.
Might have been told to go to USC since
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
April 2020.
And Oklahoma running backs have always been good. So I'm sure he knows Lincoln Riley could, make
Lincoln
him a first,
Riley might have
second-round
been in
pick.
contact with him since
I'd take him.
before COVID.
I'd take him. But
I would absolutely.
we'll see how things go, obviously.
Towards
It'll be a
BC.
big question mark, obviously, with what we do in the transfer portal. But knowing that Halfley's here to 2026 definitely helps to get guys to come here when they know he's, all in. So see how things go. Obviously, we're rooting to get guys in the transfer portal. Hopefully, the guys we're losing, like Kobe White, Jamin Muse, Deion Jones, Bumeri, wishing them nothing but the best. Hopefully, things work out for them as well. Always got to root for the
been
Eagles.
big parts of the program the last few years, yeah. So
Absolutely. Kobe's been my boy. I love him. So I'm hoping, things work out for him. I'll be rooting for him heavily. But anyways, now we can get into some talk about the MLB.
Let's go. Over
the last day or so, the Major League Baseball Players Association met with the MLB, and they've been trying to go over their agreements and all their contracts and trying to get everything settled, for the 2022 season. And of course, there are issues. The collective bargaining agreement actually expires tonight at 11:59, and Jeff Passan said about an hour or so ago now that players and teams were notified that it's basically already over for today. So now players can't sign to a certain extent. I think, it said 11:59, but I think he said that players were told by teams that it's already over the agreement, the deadline passed. So Major League Baseball has a lot to answer. I mean, there have been 3 lockouts in Major League Baseball history in 1973, 1976, and 1990. And what happens in a lockout is there were no trades, no free agency, no waiver claims. And this is a very active free agency class. You get Carlos Correa, Chris Bryant, Trevor Story, Freddie Freeman. A lot of guys that are going to get a lot of money. And these guys can't sign, obviously. They'll have to wait till the lockout's over. And who knows, this lockout could be a week, could be a month, could be 2 months. I mean, they don't know. The MLB and the MLB Players Association have to get things figured out, have to settle and agree on all the money and the deadlines and all the things that go into their contract and details, which obviously, it's above all our pay grades. Everything they're talking about, I don't even know. It's very complex, the agreements they go into. And they have to see eye to eye, obviously, since it's a two-way street. But they met yesterday, and I guess it was a 30-minute meeting, which isn't a good sign because usually I think they're like 2 or 3 hours. And the MLB actually left the hotel and checked out and everything. Whoever was there representing them checked out, and just not a good sign for the MLB, and especially for the future of the season. I mean, it's going to be on hold for like a month now probably, and who knows, could be a month, but hopefully, things get settled there, because I said, a lot of guys got to sign. A lot of big free agents have already signed. Marcus Stroman actually just now in the past hours announced that he signed with the Cubs, so I guess the collective bargaining agreement didn't end.
Okay. Yeah, still 4.5 hours?
I guess so. Yeah, they said midnight, but then Passan said the teams were notifying players that it already ended for the day. But who knows? Okay. I think
still a lot of time too till April 1st, even till spring training starts. So you never know what's going to happen in the coming weeks.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even if there's a little bit of a lockout, there's still hope. Only December 1st, so
yeah,
got a little ways to go.
I just worry about a lockout because I feel like setting free agents back to a certain extent takes away the joy and the excitement of free agency, and now having people have to wait, making people wait 2 or 3 weeks, who knows how long it would be, as I said. I think it takes away from how big this free agency class is. There's so many guys that still have to sign, and there've already been a ton of big signings. Corey Seager and Marcus Semien have getting $500,000, $500 million, that is actually. $500 million from the Texas Rangers. Seager's getting 300, Semien's 350, whatever he's getting, and Semien's getting 100 plus. So they get $500 million almost together. Very big free agency class. Money, yeah. I'm just not a fan of having the lockout or potential lockout. They're basically saying it's inevitable now. It's going to happen. I just think it takes away from how big and historic this free agency class can be.
Yeah, it is tough to see a free agency class like this get put on hold. You got to wonder too what's going to happen with a guy like Kyle Schwarber, opted out from the Red Sox.
Absolutely.
But a lot of deals have still been going on over the last couple of days. You got Max Scherzer to the Mets. Yesterday they announced the signing for 3 years, $130 million.
Great signing.
Got a roommate, Dan Barron's fired up about that. Mets fanatic. Maybe he's listening.
Hopefully he's listening. He hasn't listened to the last few, so
no, not the last four. Hey, today he listened to week 1.
All right. Now he's back on track. He's hearing things about BC football being like 3-0, 4-0.
Yeah, hearing about carousel taking BC football in Louisville. The NC State game.
Yeah, gotta love it. But so Max Scherzer's contract, I'm a big fan of that. My 2 favorite pitchers in baseball, actually, or at least 2 of which I would say they're probably my 2 favorites. DeGrom and Scherzer are both now the 1 and 2 for the Mets, which whoever you pick at 1 or 2 will probably be DeGrom would be the number 1, and Scherzer would be the number 2. That's the best 1-2 punch.
Two top 5 starting pitchers.
Ever. I mean, his contract's awesome. I love the contract. He's getting $82 a minute.
Paid, and it's only 3 years too. So.
3 years. He can opt out after the second year if he wanted, which who knows if he will, depending on how it goes. But he's getting $5,000 an hour, $58,000 per at bat, and $3.6 million a month, which is nuts. He's getting $235,000 an inning. It's just awesome. I love it.
I love it.
Very historic.
I'm not a good baseball player, but I could do that for a lifetime.
Oh, I love it. Pitching's the best job in the world. You pitch once every 5 days if you're a starting pitcher, and you're making money like that. And you only throw about 30 games a year, and he's making 43 and change a year. So it's awesome.
Really well.
It works out. But and the Mets also got Starlin Marte, great outfielder, signed to a 4-year, $78 million deal. Very good hitter. He had 316 last year with the A's, and then also part of his season with the Marlins, he had 305. He's a 289 hitter over his career. It has always been a very consistent player. He can steal bases. He can hit. He gets on base. He can be a leadoff hitter. Very good defensively. Those are probably my 2 favorite signings so far. I'm a big fan of Marte.
Those are 2 big ones, yeah.
Big fan of Marte. I wanted the Red Sox to get him, but obviously we don't have any room in the outfield with Renfroe and Verdugo out there and Kike. Obviously no room. But and maybe even Schwarber out there, who knows. But I do love the Marte signing. I love the Scherzer signing. Obviously Stroman leaving now leaves a question mark for the Mets because I know they were interested in re-signing him. But hey, it's a good time to be a Mets fan, so I'm sure Dan's psyched.
Yeah,
hopefully he's listening to it. Hope he's listening. But as I said, though, so this potential lockout, the MLB and the MLB Players Association, they have to figure things out and get everything in their contract. They have to come to terms, get everything in their contract set and settled, because who knows how this will go, how long this will go, and it just hinders the excitement that free agency brings. Especially when you got guys, I said, Trevor Story and Freddie Freeman, MLB, MVP caliber players that now have to sit and wait. Which I don't think you could talk to players during. Maybe you could talk, but you at least can't sign them.
Yeah.
So
nothing can be official.
I don't think there's any tampering rules with it, but either way, not a big fan of the potential lockout.
Yeah, tough as a fan too to sit and wait to see where some of these big names.
Exactly. Yeah, the Red Sox. I mean, they signed a couple guys already. So Micah Wacha signed to a 1-year, $7 million deal. He's historically, he was very good at the beginning of his career up until about 2017, and then he's actually struggled over the last couple of years. His ERA. The last 3 years has been 4.76, 6.62, and then 5.05. So hasn't been to the caliber of a pitcher that he was at the beginning of his career with St. Louis. But I think the Red Sox could maybe fix things. I don't know what his issue is. I don't know if it's location. I don't know if it's maybe getting old and you're losing some of your stuff and your velo and your movement. But hopefully the Red Sox figure things out there. And if he could be a 4 or 5 starter for 1 year, $7 million, especially when Garrett Richards was getting $10 million last year to do what he did and it was awful. I think it'd be a very good thing for the Red Sox. And then they also signed James Paxton, who actually has been very good over his whole career, except the last couple of years he's only had 6 starts. Just got Tommy John surgery, so he only pitched 1 inning last year. Very good player. He got 1 year, $10 million.
So a couple of years ago. So
very good pitcher, and for the Yankees in 2019, he was 15-6, and hopefully he could be. I project him to be like the 3. I would say it'd probably go Sale, Evaldi, him is what I would think, and then Pavetta's a great 4. Maybe Pavetta will be the 3. Who knows? And Paxton would be the 4, and then maybe Michael Walker would be the 5 since he's still a starter. And I think he came out of the bullpen actually like 5 or 6 games for the Rays last year. But
yeah, I'd be happy with that rotation. That's not bad considering where we were last year, especially with the bullpen.
Yeah,
that still needs a little bit of work. But for a starting rotation, I feel like most Boston fans can definitely get behind that.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially when the Red Sox have struggled, pitching has been the issue, main issue, the bullpen for sure over the last 10 years, last 5 years. Even when we won. The bullpen's always been...
Yeah, it's always been a worry. Every time we get to the 5th or 6th inning, you got heart rate increases.
Except it's just nuts. 2018, very good bullpen. Besides that, over the last 5 years, we've struggled to find guys that, can close consistently and guys that can hold games in the 7th and 8th inning. That's been something we've struggled with.
Koji, 2013, don't forget.
The GOAT.
He's the man.
Could have been starting. That's how good he was. I don't know if he could have kept the velo and everything up for 7 innings, but either way, he's great.
As soon as it gets to the 9th inning, the game was just over.
Oh, yeah. You close the book.
He's the man.
Go back to bed. Go to sleep. You already know the Red Sox won. But so we'll see how things go. As I said, with the Red Sox, hopefully I would like to re-sign Schwarber, but I know he's got teams that are interested in him.
Yeah. Had a good season with the Red Sox, though, so it might be tough. Good. Yeah, he's got a lot of suitors.
Absolutely. And I love what the Mets are doing. So if Dan's listening right now, I love what they're doing. Scherzer, Eduardo Escobar, great signing. Mark Canha, great signing. Obviously, Stalin Marte, I said I was a big fan of. So we'll look forward to there with them.
Absolutely. And how about Fenway Sports Group too, purchasing
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh Penguins recently? I was pretty surprised to see that personally. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's honestly very interesting since the Red Sox and the Bruins both share Nesson. The Red Sox own 80% of it, which Mike Hurley actually gave me note of that yesterday, which I honestly didn't realize that. I thought it was like maybe 50-50. The Red Sox actually own 80% of it, and the Bruins own 20% of Nesson. So I was thinking there'd be a conflict of interest, and we actually had Charles Steinberg in my class yesterday, the Red Sox executive vice president of public affairs, and he came in, even though he's not directly in the Fenway Sports Group, he came in and, answered questions, and we actually wrote an article about it and stuff. And I asked him that question. He said he doesn't see a conflict of interest because just because Fenway Sports Group now owns the Penguins doesn't mean they're necessarily not rooting for the Bruins also, since they're the hometown team, which I still see it's a conflict of interest if you're showing
I do too,
Bruins games.
You got association with the Bruins and the Penguins.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a little odd.
But he was very cool in my class yesterday. It was really cool to meet him and hear his insight. I guess, they were looking at expanding into hockey for years now, at least trying to, and he said when a blue chip franchise like the Penguins become available, especially with how much they do on the ice and then off the ice, their excellence in the community and commitment to community service, he said, Fenway Sports Group had to. They had no option but to try to make a run at it, and obviously it worked out for them.
Makes sense. Yeah, they are one of the biggest franchises in all of hockey, all of pro sports. I definitely get from like a financial side and kind of a sports fanatic side why they would go into that. But kind of being a Boston-based brand, being all about the Red Sox and having close ties with Nesson and the Bruins and all of the area, kind of going out and buying one of the Bruins' bitter rivals from some years.
Yeah, exactly. People actually asked about
that.
A little odd. And they said to him, like, do you foresee any issue between obviously Pittsburgh fans and Boston fans and trying to at least bring the two cities together to a certain extent, since you're obviously now owning the Penguins and you're in the town that represents the Bruins. And he was saying that efforts, and this is his actual quote, that the Fenway Sports Group's efforts in the world of sports are synergistic, not divisive. So their goal is to bring everyone together and not separate. He was saying that, which I'm going to try to get his exact quote, which I actually ended my article with. He said, sports better teach you a lesson in life, that you can go out to dinner with your opponents after the game to celebrate how fortunate you are to play a major league sport. Let sports remind us of unity, not who wins and loses. We're all on the same team. So I thought that was an interesting quote. Obviously, you're not going to be rooting for the Penguins if you're a Bruins fan, but I think what he's trying to get at is if the Bruins and Penguins, could come together, and he was saying actually if both teams could collide and collaborate on community service and stuff in the community, that anything's possible, since both organizations obviously do a lot in the community and do a lot of service.
Yeah, I guess, to that extent, I do like that quote a little bit, but at the end of the day, sports is sports, and, you're never going to get, fans never want to see, Pittsburgh Penguins and the Boston Bruins hanging out in their own time for no reason. You kind of watch to enjoy the rivalry, enjoy all that, and I think he knows that, and he's just, kind of given something to,
he's got to answer questions.
Yeah, he's kind of got to argue for his point about why, they should be able to own the Penguins and the Red Sox. But at the end of the day, it's a little weird. It's a little bit of a gray area, but there's got to be some kind of line where, you can't own two of the same things. Like, you couldn't own the Celtics and the Lakers. There's just no way.
No, you can't. Which now LeBron's obviously involved in the Fenway Sports Group, so so the teams get merged too.
Yeah, getting a little odd.
They're getting a lot of teams merged.
Getting the Celtics and Lakers together real soon. But yeah, you got to find some kind of line. Where can you draw it about ownership and what teams can be together? Like, you can never have the Red Sox and the Yankees be owned by the same group. Or two teams in the same league for that matter. So, there is some kind of delicate balance there, and it's just a matter of finding it. I think this is a little much, owning the Red Sox and the Pittsburgh Penguins just because of the ties of the Bruins.
And Nesson.
Yeah, knowing the history with the Bruins and the Penguins. I'm not a huge fan of the acquisition.
Yeah, I think it's, obviously Fenway Sports Group's making money off of it and everything, so they're fine with it. I think from a fan's perspective, I understand that. But he actually gave me a great quote again about, the two different cities, coming together. And he was talking about how the power of sports is transcendent and is supposed to unify people and bring people together. And he said, in the last 2 decades, the trend in sports is for fans to not only root for their home team, but like players on other teams that end up liking that team. So like me and the Kings, I love the Sacramento Kings because of De'Aaron. So
you're a player on every team.
I'm a player on every team, every college team, and every professional team. But he said this phenomenon, allows the influence of sports to be universal. And his quote actually was, "When one city faces a catastrophic event, every city feels the impact." And so we talked about after the Boston Marathon bombings, the Yankees playing Sweet Caroline at one of their games, in I think the seventh inning, just like a Fenway, or eighth inning that is. And then he talked about how when 9/11 happened, the Red Sox played New York, New York, just to show that even though they're on different sides, when something happens or when there's something to bigger than the game itself, everyone's unified by the game. And I understand that. I understand from a fan's perspective, you're not going to be rooting for the Penguins. But what I think he's trying to get at is,
when you can get
they
behind
can
things like
unify. And, the Penguins and the Bruins, two great franchises, if they can come together and work on, something to solve world's hunger or something, I'm sure they could make a bigger impact than just any person on the street, obviously. So I get what he was saying with that. I do like that quote very much about New York, New York, and Sweet Caroline. Obviously, things that are very, important and special to the Red Sox and the Yankees. He was saying they can be unified by those two songs when a catastrophic event happens, just like the Bruins and the Red Sox, and not the Red Sox, that is, the Bruins and the Penguins can be unified to try to solve, an issue in the community. And I don't think they're going to be fans of each other,
No, I mean, to that extent, you can come together.
But I do like that.
So I like that part of it for sure.
I read a lot of my article there, so you guys just got a great insight into that. So check out my blog.
How about the Celtics though? Recently, 11-10. We've had pretty much a stark inability to close games. It really showed against the Spurs last Friday. We came all the way back from a 24-point deficit. I think we were up 6 at one point with a couple minutes to go. And everything just kind of fell apart. Our interior defense, we gave up some easy buckets. Deontay Murray was scoring a lot in the last few minutes.
Yeah.
A couple of questionable shots. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown took a couple shots that I wasn't a fan of. Definitely wasn't the way that you wanted to end the game. I was sitting there and just kind of lost hope. All of a sudden we're up 6 and then we're down 6 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So you got to question what's going on with the team. We stormed all the way back. We looked great in the second half, and then everything just kind of fell apart. I don't know if it was the shot selection was a direct factor. That a couple missed shots that we could have made, missed a layup in there. But things did fall apart, and that's not the first time. We've had a lot of close losses this year. They gave us the Mavericks a couple weeks ago. That was, we were in that. We had that game in the bag, and then, it comes down to crunch time. Luka hits the game-winning three. It's just so many games that, we kind of have a slow start, and then we come back towards the end, and then we kind of fall off. It's just been kind of a weird year. But then again, it's only been 21 games under a new coach, so still a little early to judge what's going on. We got a game against the Sixers tonight, so hopefully everything goes well. We're up 13-4 right now, so obviously can't complain about that. But I do have a lot of questions for the Celtics moving forward.
In that game against the Spurs, I think we started out, I think it was like 1 of 15 or 1 of 16. And
something awful.
It honestly wasn't even like, we were taking great shots and I thought we had a chance. Every shot we took, I knew we were going to miss because guys are shooting off of 1 foot. We're fading away from the basket from 25 feet out. We're dribbling the ball until there's 1 second left, passing it around. We end up shooting like most of those shots with like 3 or 4 seconds after the shot clock. And I don't know if the Spurs are playing great defense. I just think we were so indecisive.
No, the Spurs have been tough this year. I think they're 5-13.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not a very good team. Obviously, the fundamentals are very good on the team, with a team that Greg Popovich coaches. But either way, it wasn't like they were playing unreal defense. It was just like we were shooting off-balance shots just to do it. Like I think out of those 13 or 15 shots we missed, I'd say 3 of them, I was like, oh, we have a chance. Like, a couple of them were just like awful choices. Which
we do a lot of weird shot selection on that team.
It was a whole team. It wasn't just
starts with guys like Tatum and Brown. They are big fans of the ISO ball. I think it kind of rubs off. Yeah, Marcus Smart, he goes 5 for 5 3 times in a season, then all of a sudden he thinks he can just shoot like 8 threes a game. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love the guy. I think, we need him pretty much more than anyone out in the court.
Love his intensity.
For his defense, and his intensity too. But a lot of questionable shot selection, especially this year. I started to notice it it was around the time we got in the bubble, actually. I feel like kind of like our offensive play and, ball movement kind of broke down once we got to the bubble. And then, ever since, even with the new coach, that's what I hoped most for out of Ime Udoka and his new, scheme and everything. I was hoping for better ball movement on offense, getting everyone involved again and kind of limiting everyone's looks and, having everyone get involved. Because Brad Stevens' best teams were when everyone was spreading the ball around, everyone was scoring. Like 2018, Terry Rozier, young Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. We were great that year, and then we haven't even been the same since. Like Jason Tatum was a rookie, and Jaylen Brown was in his second year. So, I think ball movement's key, and that's something I really want to see increase for the team if we want to start to get competitive again and start hanging with the top guys in the East.
Yeah, we don't have many guys that really have too many assists. Smart's our best guy with assists. He has 5.7 a game. It's not like the days we had Rondo always have 8 was the least he ever had probably the season for the Celtics in assists. And
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah even was about 5 or 6, 7 a game usually.
Mm-hmm.
And, guys like Terry Rozier probably had about 5 or 6 a game. So having Marcus Smart be a leading assister with 5.7, you're not going to have too many assists if your, leader in assists is a guy that's a shooting guy that loves to just brick threes from half court. But I do love his threes. I do love when he shoots them.
Obviously, I love when he makes them.
I like the confidence.
More than
I love the confidence though. He just goes up and is ready to shoot. I love it though. So if Marcus Smart's ever listening,
yeah, he's never having a bad day. He's just
just goes up.
He
can
be 0 for 8 and just
Kyle
pretend
Korver.
like he's 0 for 0.
He's Kyle Korver in his head. I love that. I love that about him.
Got that mentality.
He's a beast. So we got about 8 minutes left. If anybody wants to call in, I'll just interrupt the Celtics talk real quick. If anybody wants to call in, give me a text at 617-596-3150. 617-596-3150. But yeah, I love the Marcus Smart confidence. Mike Hurley actually just alluded to an interesting thing. Former Bruins general manager actually sued the Penguins for copying the Bruins colors. I forget what year Mike was telling me about this, but he texted me about it. So that's obviously a rivalry. That's obviously a rivalry between the Bruins and Penguins. That they have similar colors, and then actually the Bruins general manager did actually sue them before. So that's interesting. I know that interrupted the Celtics talk, but I thought that was an interesting fact. But
back to the Celtics talk. I never knew this. Ennis Cantor has changed his name to Ennis Freedom.
Yes, he did.
That's a little bit of a side note. But
now that he's a citizen, he changed his name, I think Monday.
Oh, good for him. Yeah, I was aware that he became a citizen, but didn't know he changed his name to Freedom. That's
Does
awesome.
it say Freedom in the back of the jersey? Or probably does.
It's saying Freedom in the game logs.
Probably does. If ESPN has it, probably. It's pretty cool, though. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool.
He just became a citizen on Monday, so he must have changed his name then, too.
It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to.
And his Freedom.
Yeah, I saw Freedom in the box score. I was like, who is that?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, cool to see, though.
Well, they're tweeting Ennis Freedom, too, like the Celtics beat writers and stuff saying Ennis Freedom. So I guess it's official. Keith Smith wrote Ennis Freedom first off the bench. So I guess it does say Freedom on the back of the jersey. Pretty sick. Kind of like Meta World Peace. It says World Peace on the back. So
yeah, that's sick. Celtics off to a hot start right now. Up 16-6. Tatum, we got 2. Horford at 7, shooting 100%. Jaylen Brown just drilled a 3-pointer. Team's looking good so far, half through the first quarter. Obviously, beating Philly would be a solid win. Even without Ben Simmons, I don't think he really adds that much value on the court, to be honest. Obviously he's a good player. I don't think he's as good as everyone makes him out to be. Win over Philly, a team that's kind of in the same situation as us, 11-10 right now. I think that would be a quality win for us right now, as we're just kind of trying to get back on track and bump our way up in the standings.
Absolutely. If you're playing a team with Joel Embiid, it's always a competition. It's always a very competitive game.
With Al Horford, though, he owns him.
He does. Al Horford's actually had a very good defensive season. I don't think he's worth the $32 million.
No, I think that was a good deal.
Kemba's out of the rotation in the mix.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was crazy to see.
Things are happening there.
Tom Thibodeau loves his defensive guys. So
yeah, he does.
Kemba's not a defense first guy for sure.
He's not. He did
that from experience.
He's not the best defender, Kemba, but I do remember a couple times he'd hustle back and try to make a play. It just wasn't good.
He puts an effort, but he's just a small guy. He's not the quickest side to side on defense and hanging in front of guys. Undersized. That definitely doesn't help. Under a Tom Thibodeau scheme too, where he demands like 40 minutes out of a game out of his top guys, and defense is everything, and effort and hustle and grit. Kemba's just really not that guy, to be honest. Just the way he plays, I still think Kemba's a great player, but I don't think New York is a great fit for him. So I love the guy. I hope he gets traded somewhere else, and even if I'm not going to say Brooklyn. I was going to say he'd be a good fit in Brooklyn, but I don't want him to go there. There's a lot of teams that could use a guy like him just to kind of create on offense, make some shots, move the ball around.
He's not afraid to drive. That's what I like about Kemba. He'll go up against anyone, which I'm a big fan of. I like his intensity, and I actually want him to do well for the Knicks. I love him in Fournier too. Big fan of him because he's French and was actually great in the Olympics. But I liked both them going into the Knicks. I thought they both would work well together, and obviously Kemba being from New York, I thought it'd be a great homecoming, and things just haven't worked out there. And I wish him nothing about the best, though.
Sometimes, yeah. I just hope Kemba, now that he's out of the rotation, he can, find a new home where, he can get 20, 25 minutes a game.
Yeah, there are teams that definitely could use him. Just a guy off the bench.
He's not old, too. He's like maybe 32 now.
31, something like that, probably.
Yeah, he's still got it. He's not, 2016 Kemba, but he's a solid NBA point guard. He can start for, probably at least 10 teams.
5 to 10, I would say, yeah. Probably start for a good amount, actually. 10 teams is a good amount. It's a third of the league, so he probably definitely find his way.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that can still use him.
The Sixers are 0 from 5. I can't even speak. are 0 for 5 from 3 right now, actually. So looking like the Celtics against the Spurs at 2 of 12 from the field. So
Al Horford just blocked the Joel Embiid 3-point attempt. So
Al Horford ready to go. Look at him. He's got 7 points already, too. And Embiid's only got 1.
He always has a big game against Philly. That 2018 series against Philly, he dominated. I mean, obviously Joel overall is a better player, but somehow Al just has a way with Joel, and he seems like Al kind of always has won that matchup. Somehow, some way. I don't know how he does it, but it's just all the little things Al does right. Rebounding, staying in front of him, boxing out, just a lot of fundamentals. It seems like Al always somehow finds an upper hand in that matchup between him and Embiid.
Absolutely, yeah. I think at the end of the day, I do like Al Horford's veteran presence on the court. I like his defensive
I like his leadership
abilities. I do like his leadership. But I think the money he's getting is a lot. But at the same time, I think the deal was probably the best for Kemba, him, the Celtics, and the Thunder.
Considering we were going to pay Kemba probably the same, I think it was a good deal for us.
Thunder got a draft pick too, whatever. So they were happy at the end of the day. That's all they're going for. Sam Presti's going for every pick in the 2020
got Moses
draft.
Brown in that too, which led to Josh Richardson. That was a great pickup for us. I would have been happy with either Moses Brown or Josh Richardson. They're both great players. I just think Josh Richardson's ready to make more of an impact now. And that's definitely showed the way he's played these first 21 games. I mean, he's looked good out there, solid shooter, good defender. Definitely a bench piece that we were missing last year, I thought. I was really excited when we traded for him, even though we had to get Moses Brown, who I was also excited about. I think he's going to be a great big man in the NBA moving forward. He's got great size, 7'2". He can grab boards really well, block shots, dunk it. He was a guy that I was excited to have in the Celtics, but Josh Richardson too, obviously. I think he's been a good fit with the team.
Absolutely. We'll see how things obviously go. Obviously, it's an early part of the season, like 20 games in, hopefully 21 games as you've pointed to. Hopefully things work out.
A long way to go.
Start getting a little more consistent offensively. Hopefully we can actually figure things out on defense too, because against the Spurs, I mean, they were just lighting us up at one point, up 25.
Yeah, we really just broke down.
That was
and
nonsense.
The second quarter and at the end too, you go down 24 points, then you crawl all the way back, and then you kind of lose it at the last minute.
Absolutely,
that's a tough game. That's going to be demoralizing. So it does just come from consistency at both ends. I think both offensively, we really couldn't get the lid off the basket at the end, and then defensively too, letting San Antonio go 24 points. The talent on their team, they always play good fundamentals under Pop. But that team's talent, they don't really have. They have Dejounte Murray. I'm a big fan of him. I've always wanted the Celtics to try to make a trade for him.
He's nice. Hey, he could be on the move now that they're struggling.
But they don't really have much else going for them. They got Jakob Poeltl. He's always been a solid role player center in the NBA.
Physical too.
Yeah, but no real guys that looking down the box where that jump out to you.
Absolutely.
So, losing to a team like that in that kind of fashion is tough. Even if it's on the road, you never want to lose a game like that to that team.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a team with Popovich is always a team that'll play the game the right way, limit turnovers, will make the right decisions. Obviously, they don't have as much talent as they did 3 years ago now. Even last year, they still had DeMar DeRozan. They had a ton of talent last year. But they had DeMar DeRozan last year or 2 years ago?
Last year.
Last year, too, they still had him. Okay, so they still had a lot of talent having him there, and obviously now he's with the Bulls. But, you don't really have the superstars. You used to have Marcus Aldridge, Kawhi Leonard, obviously Tony Parker, all of them are gone.
Leonard, yeah.
Tim
Duncan,
all
those guys went. They had a great team.
Exactly.
2013, 2014.
He's working with a lot less now, and having 6 wins might be impressive with that roster since Murray's probably their only really good player, and then
Murray can start for any team. I think honestly, pretty much.
Very good. Yeah.
Besides, if you don't have like Steph Curry or another top 5 point guard, I think Murray's right up there. Great 2-way player.
Absolutely. Steph's had a great season. Now you mentioned him.
Yeah, they've been going off. The Warriors. Steph looks great.
He probably is MVP right now. I would say.
He's got to be right now.
Unreal. He's looked unreal over the past season.
I think are they the 1 seed in the West?
Last year was really good too. I think they're the 1 or 2. They might
Phoenix is
actually
up there too. Phoenix has won like 17 in a row. Phoenix just took him down last night actually at home.
Yeah, I think Phoenix is the 1.
That was a good game to watch.
Let me see. Phoenix is the 1. Warriors are the 2. They're both 18-3 though. Now I know the Suns have the edge though.
They had that win last night.
17 in a row though. That's nuts. And
yeah,
my Kings struggling 8-14, but
oh no, you hate to see that.
They're on the 11 right now. We just got to get to the 10. We'll make the playing game, and who knows what happens after that. But we'll see though. Obviously, Steph Curry's
still
probably
wide
MVP.
open, only 21 games in. Yep.
Steph Curry's probably MVP
right now. Steph Curry is easily my MVP.
Paul George.
MVP pick too.
Paul George, my boy.
I don't know if there's any other way you can go with it right now.
Paul George is my dog.
Paul George could be top 5 in MVP.
I'd say top 3. I'd say top 3. I'd probably put him at 3 right now. Maybe
right
even
now,
2 or
Steph
3.
Curry, no debate.
Probably Steph.
Season.
I would say Steph, and then I actually would put Paul George. He's been great. He's not working with, Kawhi Leonard. They very good players.
I think KD could make his case for
KD probably
MVP.
3. I put KD at 3. I'll put Paul George at 2 because he's my boy. He gets the edge there. But either way, though, yeah, we'll see how things work out. Also, the MVP voting, that's months away. But either way, it's exciting just to follow it over the course of the season. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Anyway, now, we're running to 8 o'clock right now. So as always, thank you guys so much for listening. It means a lot to both of us. We love just being out here talking sports. So thank you guys.
Yeah, so thank you guys for listening to another week of the Playbook with Joey and Zach. These do fly by that hour. But we'll be back on BC Radio next Wednesday night on December 8th from 7 to 8 p.m. as always. And also December 11th, Saturday, next Saturday, not this Saturday coming, we will be on the WZBC FM radio station 90.3 to do a show. I think it's 1 to 3, right?
Yeah,
1 o'clock
1
to
to
3 o'clock. So definitely tune in then, and we'll be
that's going to be big time.
FM studio. Turn on your car
radio. Could use some call-ins, too, going all the way for 2 hours.
Yeah, let us know early in advance, 617-596-3150. I say that a ton every episode, but definitely let us know if you guys want to come on because we'll have 2 hours and it'll be pretty cool. Hopefully we get more guests and get people on.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, got a lot of time to talk everything.
Absolutely. And then hopefully we can, fill up the 2 hours of BC stuff, maybe talk NBA, MLB, all that kind of like we do here. But 2 hours, obviously we'll have a lot more to cover, which would be pretty cool. Yeah. So,
by the way, too, that will be our last one for the season before we come back next
semester. We have one more Wednesday night.
Yeah, one more Wednesday night, then the 2-hour finale, and then that's it till second semester. So,
damn,
it's crazy.
That's wild. But thank you guys though for listening. As always, hope everyone has a great rest of the week. And as I always do, shout out to all my family and friends for listening. Thank you guys. It means a lot. I really appreciate it. And also, I've meant to do this for a few episodes now. Shout out to my brother Paul for all the work he's done for us in setting up our intro and our conclusion. He did that the first episode, and I've been meaning to shout him out for that. So thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Paul.
Absolutely. So thank you guys. Have a great night.
Guys. Yeah, see you next week.
Stay blessed, stay well. Thank you guys, and have a good one.